I am not going to make this a sad, dramatic video because I don't think this needs to be a sad, dramatic video. It's a serious situation for me and it's been affecting me quite a bit, especially in the last 6 months. I figured I would finally address this with you guys because I kind of exposed myself. In New York City a few weeks ago, I did a video and I mentioned that I was having troubles at home. It was an offhand comment. I really didn't think you guys were going to pick up on that. And I'm not going to pretend like there's not something going on at home. There has been something, and unfortunately I wasn't able to talk about it sooner because it was pretty severe and I didn't know what was going to happen, and I didn't want to make the situation any worse because obviously posting a video on YouTube doesn't really maintain a lot of privacy, and that's kind of what we needed. But I'm ready to talk about this right now, so let's get right into that. Before I get too far into the story, I just want to give a quick shout out to the sponsor of this video, which is creditkarma.com. Creditkarma.com is a website that allows you to check your credit score whenever you want without hurting your credit score. And the best part about it is that it's absolutely free. There's no discount code to offer with this video because it's a free service that I just wanted to share with you guys. 6 months ago when I first moved into this apartment, I didn't tell you guys this sooner, but I moved into this apartment with roommates. It's me, Taylor, and another couple. This video is talking about a very strained relationship that we had with the roommates that has affected Taylor and I in a big way. But I want to just say that when we first moved into this apartment, we applied for it, and Taylor and I have great credit, but my roommates did not have great credit. When we applied, the leasing office called us and they said that had it not been for mine and Taylor's credit score, we wouldn't have gotten approved because their credit was absolutely terrible. Because of that, we were supposed to have an $800 security deposit for this apartment, and instead we ended up having to put down $3,800. So for people who think that having good credit doesn't matter, let this be the cautionary tale about that. Apart from just being a resource to help you check your credit score for free, it also has tons of other resources that can help you make more financially sound decisions. It can help you with identity theft protection or notify you when there's a change on your credit report. Credit Karma is a great resource that I want you guys to take advantage of. If you want to sign up for Credit Karma, it's fast, it's easy, it's very simple. There's no bullshit about it, which is what I like about it. Check out Credit Karma in the description section below, and thank you again to Credit Karma for being a sponsor of this video. The story begins about a year ago when Taylor first visited me when we first met. Taylor was coming to visit Los Angeles for the first time, and up until then I had a really great relationship with my roommates. I had been living with them for the previous 2 years and we had never had a fight in that entire time, and so I never expected what happened to happen once Taylor arrived. Taylor came to visit, and suddenly, out of nowhere, one of my roommates just kind of snapped. Initially, it started off kind of strange because he would often make comments about Taylor and I having sex. He would say things about us having really loud sex and giving me props for how loud of sex we were having and how wild it sounded, and I would just kind of brush it off. But eventually he started texting me out of nowhere, especially like in the middle of the night, asking us to keep it quiet or to stop having sex. Hey guys, I was editing this video and I noticed that I left out a very important part of the story. When my roommate was accusing us of having sex, we often weren't even at the apartment. Taylor was visiting for like an entire month and we had probably had any sort of sex like 2 or 3 times because we were just getting to know each other. My roommate was accusing us of having sex all the time, and I think that his mind just started getting so obsessed with the idea of us having sex that he started hearing it even when it wasn't happening, and it was just the idea that kind of settled in his mind, and he started being very aggressive towards us and he started being very hostile. And I just feel like that was an important part to share of this because we weren't just having sex all the time and being inconsiderate. He was actually accusing us of something that wasn't even happening in the first place, and that was an important part of the story that I left out, so I just wanted to add that in here. But now back to the rest of the story. Finally, one day this roommate confronts me about my crazy sex life, and he says that he thinks that we're doing drugs. He thinks that the reason we're able to have sex for as long as we are and for as loud as it is, then we must be on drugs. Of course, I defended Taylor right away because Taylor doesn't do drugs, he barely drinks. I don't drink or do anything either, so it didn't make sense. And then he goes and says that he found a bag of meth in the bathroom that he thinks that Taylor brought from New York. I was like, okay, well, if you found the bag of meth, then where is it? Let me see that, because then I'll talk to Taylor about that. And the roommate was quickly like, oh no, I actually threw it away. I flushed it down the toilet because I didn't want it in our apartment. After that, things just started getting stranger and stranger because he started hearing voices. He kept thinking that I was hiding someone in my room. The weird thing about it was everything kind of connected back to sex. Like, he kept saying that the voices were telling him things about sexual related things and that people were having sex all around him, and it was extremely loud and it was just aggressive and violent. Eventually I'd come out of my bedroom at night and I'd see him just just like with his ear to the floor listening to people having sex. And he'd wave me over and make me listen to the sounds as well, and I would listen to the floor and not hear a single thing, but he would swear that he'd hear sex and headboards banging. After a while, he started getting aggressive and he started directing it at Taylor because he thought Taylor was the source of all of this. And it was weird because his behavior had changed just like that when Taylor arrived, and we weren't really sure what that was about. I still don't know why Taylor was a trigger, but eventually they talked to me at night and they said that Taylor needs to leave because Taylor's the reason that my roommate was losing his mind. I was really pissed because it just made life so stressful, and I was just trying to get to know this person and I wasn't able to because my roommate was losing his mind. It's weird because Taylor left and then suddenly my roommate was back to normal the way he was before Taylor came in the first place. I was really skeptical about that and I was ready to move out because it was just so uncalled for and so inappropriate that I just didn't want to continue living with them because I was pissed. But he apologized and he would even like step in the room when I was FaceTiming with Taylor and he'd say that he was sorry and he was going through a rough time and he was just having a little bit of a stressful breakdown, but he assured us that it would never happen again. And cut to a couple of times that Taylor visited since then and he seemed decently normal. He seemed like he was behaving. And I know this is a part of the story that's going to sound ridiculous, but the lease was up for the apartment and it was time to move. We were looking for an apartment and Taylor and I wanted to move in together, but instead of putting all that financial pressure on us, I thought that we could move in with my roommates into a new apartment because things seemed calm. They assured me that there was nothing that was going to happen again and that drama wasn't going to go down, so I convinced Taylor to move into this apartment with those same roommates. If I could only go back in time and undo that decision, I definitely would. Within the first 5 days of moving to the apartment, we got an email from management saying that we need to stop calling the cops on other tenants in the building. I didn't know anything about that. Taylor didn't know anything about that. And then finally we talked to the other roommate about that and he had called the cops on several people in the building because he thought they were having very loud, aggressive sex. And he kept saying that he wasn't sleeping for days at a time. And during this, he started losing weight very rapidly and he was hearing the voices, he was hearing the sounds, and I would just come out of the bedroom to get a drink of water at night and he would just be sitting in the dark on the couch, just listening to the sounds that were apparently haunting him. It was so stressful because he started directing this at us and he was being so rude to us and so mean to us. But eventually he started throwing shit. He'd just throw a shoe at our wall because he thought that we were making the sounds. And when you're dealing with someone that's hearing voices in their head, you don't know when they're going to snap. You don't know what's going to happen from day to day. During all this, his husband is kind of turning a blind eye to the situation and he's not helping at all. So Taylor and I are just trying to figure out what to do with this person. I had a feeling it was drugs that was making him act this way because it's the only explanation I had for that sort of behavior, because he was acting completely normal before for the previous 2 years, and then all of a sudden his mind just snaps and he starts acting like a crazy person. It is strange though that he was acting this way only when Taylor was around, and I still don't understand why, and I felt so bad because Taylor was going through this whole experience. It's his first time living in Los Angeles and he's dealing with this very unstable roommate. The living situation is an absolute nightmare. So getting to the point, a few weeks ago, they sent an email to us and said that they were moving out of the apartment because the noise was just too much for them. And I was like, oh, you know what? Good riddance. Just go, get out of our lives, move on. So they broke the lease, they moved out about a week ago, and finally I feel like I can breathe for the first time since we moved into this apartment because it has been a very, very stressful situation. Roommates are always hard to deal with, but this was kind of next level. We didn't know what we were dealing with. We had to lock our doors at night. I was just nervous and scared most of the time, and I couldn't talk about that. I didn't have an outlet during that time. It was just Taylor and I dealing with this, which of course caused a lot of friction for us as well because we didn't know how to handle the situation. And Taylor, I think, had a bit of resentment, which I think is understandable, for bringing him into the situation that I assured him would be a safe, healthy living situation. So thank God it's finally over with. We do have a new roommate now, and so far he seems very sane, he seems very respectful, and maybe I'll introduce him to you guys sometime, or maybe I won't. I don't know about that. Let's just take one thing at a time. I just wanted to share this because I told you guys that we were having troubles at home. A lot of you guys thought that that meant that Taylor and I were having troubles together, and that wasn't the case. The trouble that we were having was with my roommates, and it was an absolute nightmare, and I'm just so happy that it's over so we can kind of move into what I hope is a better, happier chapter. Have you guys ever dealt with a crazy roommate situation before? Let Let me know what your guys' experience was like and how you got out of that. Ours was definitely a crazy one. I never expected it to get as bad as it did, but it did, and it's over with now. We're alive and well, and we can move forward with the next chapter. Anyway, I guess that does it for this video, but thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.